Hello to you, this is Group 15004 representing Muteesa University from Uganda. We've chosen the automotive vertical market. Please enjoy our presentation. As earlier explained in the previous slides, we have divided our exhibit into two parts, that is two sectors. We have looked at the first sector as being resource stroke operational space, and under this we are considering the main tanks, the main stocks as being industry resources, resources population, and total operational space. When we talk about stocks in this case, we are looking at inflows to these stocks or to these tanks. For example, industry resources, if we could start with that, it has an inflow of available resources, which resources is a combination of machine resources, work resources, thereby we're talking about human laborers or human resource, talking about material resources, talking about the different words, and under these words we are referring to the different stations where which could be automated, so those are considered as resources. And of course, when these industrial resources do accumulate, they are consumed, and of course by being consumed they have factors which contribute to their consumption, and of course there is always a consumption rate. So consumption thereby is draining the industry resources. But industry resources are affected by the resource population. Resource population, of course, affects industry resources indirectly through the available resources, but at the same time the resource population also affects directly the desired operational space, because we think that desired operational space depends on what resources we have, how many employees we have, how many machines do we have, how many materials do we have. Talk of the raw materials which are being used in the automotive industry. So all that is and of course we don't forget the fact that when these materials are put together, as we shall see in the other sector, we get the products which are vehicles and vehicle parts. So all these they contribute directly to what is the desired operational space a certain industry or a certain factory should have. Now, desired operational space also affects the demand gap. Now, the demand gap here we are referring to the total operational space which is in place minus the desired operational space, which depends on the available resource population. So that is the desired gap. And of course the desired gap is going to push the company or the industry or the corporate company to acquire more operational space. It is the gap which pushes this industry to acquire more operational space. But of course, this acquisition depends on a certain rate, which rate, of course, depends on various factors. For example, cost, availability, competition, available of funds, and of course, how the previous space which has been acquired has been utilized. And of course, all that is compressed into acquisition rate, and the acquisition factors therefore explained. The second sector that we have looked at is the production sector, because we are looking at the automotive industry, and under this we have a couple of sinks. We've got the main sink being manufactured products, because here we're looking at the products which have been manufactured. But of course this is a contribution of various sinks, like for example average location, total operational space, as we have seen in the previous slide. There is also a contribution of the workforce, contribution of demand of products, because we know that production cannot take place unless there is demand. And there is also another important sink which is contributing to manufactured product, which is accumulated profits, because profits are the ones which are reinvested, and then production can be able to take place. And of course, under this, the main inflows to the main sink or to the main stock are production, and production, of course, affected by various factors, as we have already seen. For example, total cost, demand of products, effectiveness of workers, the desired production rate or the desired production gap, which depends heavily on the supply. And then, of course, there is an outflows from the main stock, which are draining the main stock. When these products are manufactured, they don't sit idle in the stores. They are supplied, but of course supplied at a given rate. Some, in the due course of piling them up in the warehouses, they get spoiled, so they need to be disposed of. And in the disposal, of course, there is a stock which is going to be disposed of. Those products that are malfunctioning, those can be recycled later on and then be reused as raw materials. As you can see, the continuation of the arrows, they head to a cloud, so that can be reused as raw materials for future manufacturing. Of course, profits as an accumulation from revenues collected, savings, it could be an accumulation from loans, grants, angel investors, and so on, depending on how the company is operational. So the provided statistics in the write-up have been incorporated into the stocks. You are seeing the stocks for information are the ones in squares, converters in circles, the flows are the ones which are represented with arrows, and the red arrows link, those are links connecting one entity to another entity. So this model has been embedded with the statistics, and of course, once simulated, it can generate graphs, it can generate statistical numerical data, which can be used by managers to make productive and mature decisions for the company. We thank you very much for listening to our presentation, and we hope to add more information as might be required, and of course to demonstrate to you how the simulation model is working. We believe it is a very, very strong tool which can be incorporated in corporate real estate management and planning. Thank you very much for listening to us.